Yeah, I was
There we
trying
go.
to Space Punks.
Space Punks?
Yeah. Have you heard of it?
Nope. How is it?
It's good. Multiplayer.
Oh, fun.
There we go.
Multiplayer is always a good choice.
Up to 4 players, but we can discuss that in the podcast. Give us
All
something to
right.
talk about.
Yeah, something like no, let's just talk video games. It's been a crazy
Of
week.
course.
That's why I like
Yeah.
it. All right. I mean, you ready to rock and roll? Because we can just
I am
do
ready
this
to rock and roll, dude.
All right. I like your Endwalker background, by the way.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
We might also do a call-in show. So, guys, I've posted the invite link. I'll actually post it here if anybody wants to join in. Boop, boop, boop. If you guys want. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We're going to have some fun. Episode 30, which is pretty big.
Still want me to cosplay as Gimli.
Let's make it happen. All right.
All right.
Hello and welcome to Epic Loot Radio with a masterful cast, episode 30. This is a historic time. We are diving into the fall lineup of video games, and joining me today is my co-host with the host, Chaos Prime. Dude, Chaos, how are you doing? Thanks so much for tuning in and hanging out today. Tell me what you're playing and what you're excited about.
Oh, I'm actually playing all sorts at the moment, from Ascent, which is a single player game. Actually, it is multiplayer, but I'm playing it solo at the moment. It's really, really good. Cyberpunk era. It's a lot of fun. You have to try it out. It's free on Game Pass as well.
When you say
no reason
Cyberpunk era, like how would you relate it to Cyberpunk 2077?
It's bug free and works.
Well, there you go.
No, but like the whole scenery, the surrounding is jaw dropping. It's neon lights and everything. They're adding the ray tracing fix for Xbox as well, and the Game Pass version of the game. So that should already be in there now, I'm hoping, and it just looks great. Outside of that, I'm also trying out Space Punks, which is really good. I'm getting into these ARPGs that I never thought I'd like at all. You know, kind of getting ready myself for Lost Ark when that comes along. So
October for that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of experimenting with those at the moment, alongside playing more Final Fantasy 14 and a bit of Genshin Impact on the side. So yeah, it's just a wide spread of games at the moment.
You're literally just describing like the what I've talked to you just in this 2 minutes. I guess I stutter through all that. You sound so much happier than you've been, I guess, in the last like month and a half. Is that right or wrong? Is that wrong to assume?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm actually enjoying the games I'm playing for a change. And also there's just been a lot of good stuff happening, and you know, the whole bad era of what happened last month and over is just gone now, and got nice holiday from work. So yeah, I'm in a really good place right now.
That's great to hear. Guys, if you're not following Chaos Prime, be sure to go do that. He is awesome, and he is definitely somebody you should check out for sure. His links will be in the description of this. As always, if you want to dive in and have some fun. Now, I do want to say thank you guys so much for the support for the podcast. You can now listen to it in an MP3 format, day and date, with the video podcast as it goes up. This is done because a generous donation from Luke, who supported the podcast with allowing us to break it up and bring it everywhere, which is really nice. So we couldn't have done it without Luke. But also over on Ginger Gaming Radio, if you want to be a part of this, the support to help keep it going, we've got WG Productions and Keelan joining the podcast legends. Thank you guys so much for your support. We could not do it without you for helping sponsor the podcast specifically. That's how you do it if you're curious, but no pressure to support otherwise. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about New World. We're going to be talking about Final Fantasy 14. Asmon might come up. That seems to be a very hot topic, no matter which way you slice it. He's here. He's enjoying the game. I'm going to look forward to getting Chaos's thoughts on that situation as it develops. But I want to sit here and say this is a conversational podcast. We like to really engage with you guys. In fact, as episode 30 goes, I have posted the links if you are watching with us live and you feel like you want to come on the show, weigh in with your insight. As long as you have a decent mic, anybody is welcome to come in and hang out today. Let's go ahead and begin in the first place with New World. New World has a huge amount of news in that it got delayed again. The fourth delay. You could technically say like the third official delay because we never really had a spring release date, but we now have a new release date of September the 28th. And Chaos, for those of you who don't know, you had some graphical card issues with the beta. Why don't you surmise your experience for anybody who's just kind of jumping into this video and or podcast, and then let's talk about that pushing out the release date, if that's a positive or negative in your opinion.
So my experience of New World, for what I played, I think I played 5-6 hours in total, maybe 7 hours overall. After I was able to jump back in once they released the new drivers, was actually really positive. It did have that Skyrim feel, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not a Western RPG type of guy. I'm more of a JRPG person. But the actual combat, the surroundings, the scenery, the enemies, it worked, and it worked really well to its strengths. New World knew where its strengths were and it went for it. The crafting, the mining, you'd think it'd be like a chore and a thing, but you'd spend like half hour, 40 minutes just chopping wood, and you'd be like, where the hell did that time go? All I've done is chop some wood. And it's not like it's a time consuming thing, it's just you just get absorbed in it. And I think that's what it does really, really well. It allows you to get immersed in the world that you're in and just get lost in it, which is what gaming is all about, right?
Yeah. The absorb, like I get absorbed into the world. That's actually the thing that's really the most frustrating about the delay. I'm happy that they're doing it. We've long asked companies to say, like, if you don't feel like you're ready, delay. Like, just it's better to delay. There's a point where in Cyberpunk's case, they present another, it's you delay, and then you're like, oh, like let's go. Feels like that was a huge marketing snafu. But at the end of the day, if this gives them the ability to have their best foot forward, especially off the backs of like a Josh Drive Hayes video talking about like the first, like if the game gets good after 100 hours, like what's wrong with the first 99.9 hours of your game, and having the best introduction possible, I think will set New World up for, hopefully a good amount of success in the long run of the game itself. Like you said, when you step into the world, when you chop down your tree, I ended up finding myself more or less just strip cutting forests down. I think that the meme is it's the best lumberjack simulator that exists on the face of the planet.
But it also had like a really good setting when it started off. Most games, just you're just in like a shrewd area with nothing there. But I really liked that whole setting with the beach, the kind of zombie tempered enemies, the shipwrecks, and everyone just trying to get together to find people that were either dead or surviving, just trying to find people, and you doing your part, going about helping the cause. The whole scenery and the whole intro and everything really did set the tone for that scene right there. And I think it was a really nice way to get in.
So I want to come to Mystera's comment talking about Destiny 2's Battle Pass and et cetera, because I think that's a good discussion to have. But Patrick actually just put us this message saying New World recently tweeted that new content is coming for release, but thoughts about recent leaks. And so to catch everybody up, there's been leaks about additional weapons and more skills, things like that are already in the code for the game itself. But no, especially as it relates to the delayed content, no new content. I think that's genius. I don't think that you want to sit here in the last 2 months, try to sneak in a bit of content. You want to have the most polished and bug-free, least amount of bugs possible. You want to have that real solid experience, because guess what? This isn't a single player game. This isn't a game that just comes out on one day and then that's it. It's that in October or November or December, like you want to make sure that you've got stuff ready to introduce. And I felt like overall, the base content of the game, when you just talk about like the leveling experience, multiple weapons, you've got the different PvP modes, you've got the different dungeons. Overall, like with the story and the crafting and the gathering, like I could estimate, I think the right estimate might be given about 4 months of like content for people to consume. Now, the question is that what's the average gamer's, consumption of that with New World versus that of somebody who's like a full-time content streamer like Asmon? The only way we'll know is come October, is everybody at cap and just sitting around waiting for something to do, right? We don't know. But the thing that you want is that regarding leaks and what's in the game, I say focusing on polish, and then have that update, whatever that first update is, have that be substantial, right? Don't try to sneak things in. Don't try to sneak in a weapon at launch. Wait till that first update, because that's going to get people excited. Because if you're already enjoying the game, and let's say you were like, I'm really waiting for that great sword, or I'm really waiting for this type weapon, like that's an opportunity to be invited back to the game and check it out. But what do you think, Chaos?
I agree. I don't think they should be adding anything to the game right now. Also, something that people generally miss, especially with these leaks. When Destiny 1 was when they were released the game, people were data mining areas that were already on the disk that you couldn't access. And later on, we found out that this was part of the Crota expansion and stuff like that. But and people were, saying, "Oh, well, it's on the disk. Why aren't they just releasing it, or why aren't they giving us access to it, and whatnot?" But it's just a foundation, and these items and weapons that they're finding on the disk itself, like in the data files, is probably just the foundation for the weapon. There's probably not been that, any balancing for it or anything like that. So I really wouldn't concern myself with any of the new stuff that they're finding in the data mine stuff that's not coming with a base game. Just enjoy the base game. There should be enough content there for the average person to last, depending on your playstyle, I'd say even up to 6 months, considering people are now going out with the restrictions being lifted. They're not going to be stuck at home pent up as much as they used to be. So that's even less time for gaming. So all in all, unless it's literally your job to stream 10 hours a day or 15 hours a day, it's gonna last you a while. And anyway, enjoy the game, enjoy the content, enjoy the experience. The journey is much more important to me than quickly rushing to get to the end game.
Right. And I think that's where people are going to be people. People are going to game it that way. I think it's going to make for your typical cycle of random video game drama out on the internet. Like, I've played 1,000 hours of this game and now there's nothing. That's always the thing, especially, and I want to get back to the Destiny comment. That's always the thing I found with people who hate Destiny the most. It's like, I've put 5,000 hours, I've put 10,000 hours into this game and it sucks. And it's like, I don't think you know what you're saying in terms of how I interpret that. Because either you're saying that you absolutely love this game and then it betrayed you, or you're saying that you're somebody who is like ripe for like playing bad games for a long time. Like, I don't want to call you an idiot, but I do question your dedication to the craft there, buddy.
I mean, if you've been playing for 5,000 hours, you've clearly been enjoying it, right? And any game that gives you 5,000 hours, even if the game was £200, that is 5,000 hours.
What if the game was like $2,000?
Ooh.
What if the game was $2,000 this year?
Well, I don't think the general public could afford it, but
well, you got to think about it, right? So I'm coming up at 5,000 hours for Final Fantasy 14. That's why I usually do 5,000 hours. Like I like that. Now I'm on a reduced fee. I also had 6 months, or whatever that free time was. So it isn't necessarily 11 years or whatever of sub. So let's just do the math at 8 years. And for me, I'm at $10. So that 8 years times 12. So that's 96 months that I've been subscribed to Final Fantasy 14 times $10. Okay. So I haven't done 2,000, but $960 in terms of subscription fee for Final Fantasy 14 is generally what I've paid, give or take. Now I've bought a couple of whale mounts and I've bought every expansion. So, and I bought the collector's edition. And so I'm just adding this up. I'm going to bring this actually physically, like, it's a calculator in the podcast.
It's roughly about 1,300.
Yeah, exactly. $1,230, give or take, with that. So that's what I've spent right now, I think, in terms of Final Fantasies 14 and their subscription fee. So I think it's money well spent. But if you
how much does that come to a year though?
A yearly, I spend around $120 on Final Fantasy 14.
That's nothing.
And then you have the off year. So like if you're averaging it out, like I'm spending $150 a year to play this game.
Nothing. That's the price of free games. And the amount of content you're getting from that for that $150 is unprecedented.
Unprecedented. So Mysterio writes, Do you think Destiny 2's model of the battle pass is better than loot boxes? For MTX, I prefer straight up buying, knowing what it is, but without the time investment of a battle pass if a game has microtransactions. Question is to you, Chaos.
So, do you think the Destiny 2 model of Battle Pass is better than loot boxes? Yes. I don't like loot boxes mainly because you never know what you're going to get. At least with a Battle Pass, I know that if I put this much effort in, I know what I'm getting. And if I want something halfway along that Battle Pass, at some point they're going to allow me to pay for the stages, and I can directly pay for it to go up if I want to, if I don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
Would I prefer to actually outright buy that content if I had the option, like say Avengers does with their costumes and Fortnite does? Sure. But the danger with that is they also charge a hell of a lot just for individual costumes. And it's really, they recoup that in that way. And in my opinion, you end up paying a lot more than you would do with the Battle Pass. The problem with the Battle Pass is you don't know what you're getting and you're limited to what they're putting on there. You might not be interested in half the stuff that's on there. So I can see the argument for and against it. But if you're giving me the option between loot boxes and a battle pass, I will always go battle pass.
So the battle pass is the evolution of the loot box. Let's just be real. So the loot box, from an algorithmic perspective, it factors in that you're not going to get the thing you want. And even though you're doing 99 cents or whatever they decide to charge, a smaller amount of money, it's all balanced around with the odds that they're going to actually make X amount of money, right? So when you factor in that randomness and they just go direct to the consumer, they just give you the price. Like, okay, this is what it's going to take. This is what we're going to charge. We can all sit down and like debate on like what's the right price, but the market dictates the price. Like that's online when people are like, that's too much, or that's, it's like at the end of the day, the market will dictate the price. Whether if people don't buy it, the price comes down. If people buy it, the price goes, maybe it just stays the same or goes up. But the overall, like, companies are trying to find that sweet spot where they get the most people who will purchase for the right price. Because if you set something at $500 and you only sell one versus you set it at $10 and you sell 1,000, it's like you've made more money because you've lowered the price. And like it ends up being how the economics of it work. And the market is the market. Now, I think people have been hijacked chemically in terms of that, and we've seen even Destiny talk about the studies of addiction that they've done to keep people playing. And the loot box has that excitement. In fact, I filmed a video today ranting about just discovering the whole slots category on Twitch and how absolutely disgusting that is. I find that terrifying.
Oh yeah.
But that's me. That's me wishing I had influence over an entire area where I have absolutely no power. So people want to throw their money away. That makes me nervous. Like if I'm gonna donate money, I have to travel outside my house, and that's where I think it gets a little bit risque. All right, not to derail the podcast too much. So, do I think the battle pass is better than loot boxes? No, I think they're actually equally bad, with the exception of what Halo is doing. And I'm only speaking for myself. I'm only speaking for Brian. Just like with Majora's Mask, the battle pass with that timer, even if I have the time, I can't bring myself to play or engage with it. I don't need that stress in my life. I don't need somebody telling and making a game something of, I need to do this before X. I take there's an exception for the seasonal model, right? A seasonal event in Final Fantasy 14 does not cost me money. I'm already subscribed. I can go take part in it if I want to, and I can not take part in it if I don't. There are seasonal events that I do in 14, and there's seasonal events that I just straight out skip. That's just how I think there's a difference, but there are similarity threads, but I still see those as two different. But that being said, Halo Infinite is having no expiration on the battle pass, meaning I can purchase it. I can purchase previous battle passes if I want, and then I grind on that. I like that idea. I like that. If Destiny made that change, I think that would be so wholesome for the game itself. I can go equip a battle pass. I can go level and play, and then knock it out and finish it. I think that also leads to more money for the company. I hope it does in the long run, because this could be the solution, I think, to the no subscription, but how do you monetize between expansions model, in that you could bundle up all of the past battle passes. And so it's like, hey, you want to, like, you just joined the game and it's 2 years later, there's been 8 battle passes. If you'd like, for $40, you can buy all 4, or all 8, or whatever whatever the model ends up being, the cost per, maybe there's a slight discount for bundling, etc. And then as the player, I get to equip said battle pass that I want, and I can go out and play it until I've completed it. And what it does is it removes the mindset of an instant gratification to the reward. So the concept of actually just going out and buying something, I actually have concerns with that too. The instant gratification of swipe credit card, get cool thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to spend your money. I'm not. Like, you're an adult. You do whatever you want with your money. That's you. But I would more or less, that's why I like the evolution of the battle pass without the expiration becomes this epic quest line, right? So I'm actually paying for content, and I know what reward track I'm on. I know how that unlocks and what I will earn for it. I still have to play the game to get said content, but all at the same time, I'm also saying, oh, that's a really cool look. I can go do that. I can get that look. It is going to cost money, but there's no instant gratification metric. And I'm also helping to support the game and giving me something to do in the game, if that makes any kind of sense. Am I crazy?
I mean, isn't what you just said going counterintuitive to you spending money in 14 in the cash shop?
How so?
I mean, you're buying mounts that should be in the game.
Oh yeah, 100%. I only I bought the whale mount because I got the bike mount because I went to FanFest, and in my mind, I went to FanFest, and that was my ticket price. We're all hypocrites, right? We all, like, everybody's got a button, and certain companies know how to.
I do it. I spend as well. Like, I bought the bike. I just
It was the whale was much cheaper than the bike. The whale was much cheaper than the bike because it cost me like with plane tickets, hotel reservations, tickets to FanFest. That did give me the bike. Like, I think all in, like, that was a grand, and that wasn't a part of my calculation earlier, just in terms of the game. Like, you start factoring in the FanFest that I've gone to, like, Square Enix don't pay for me to go. you know, like, that's all me. It's me and Julie get to go and have fun in Vegas, and I hope that, who knows what the next one is, and hopefully she'll be able to join me. I think she's more than earned a little respite, a little outside of Texas adventure. But yeah, so that's the difference, right? Like, I would like to know what Mystera thinks, because I see a couple comments, and I do apologize, I have to read. But Chaos, go ahead and take over for a second.
Saying, but the battle pass for Destiny is free, right? You get the free layer, and you only get the paid layer if you buy the expansion. So you're not actually directly paying for the battle pass.
The battle pass costs $10, and they have 4 in between. So if you buy the complete edition of the expansion, which I do, because I do love Destiny,
but you're not paying for the battle pass.
You are. You pay they're $10 each. You can buy them individually, but if you pay the $60 for the expansion, you get the full year. You get all. Yeah, but
you're paying for the DLC, the content.
Yeah, and then it comes with the battle pass. But you pay the $40 and you just get the expansion, and you don't get the battle passes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but if you pay $40, you get the base game. Mm-hmm. If Season of the Splicer comes, you pay $10 or whatever it is for the DLC.
Yes.
And the battle pass comes with that. It's not sold separately from that.
The battle pass includes the season and the content, I think.
What I'm saying is they're bundled together.
Yeah.
So
$10 gets you the premium tier. Otherwise, it's free. And then they have basically the chart of what's free in the season for everybody and what's behind that $10 paywall,
which is basically the whole seasonal content.
Yeah, exactly. But it has an expiration date. And you might be like, Brian, you could knock that out in 2 weeks. Just that simple fact that there's that expiration date. Because here's what's happened to me, and this is another dad cast. Every time, like, there's a new, it's like every first season, every expansion, we've been on this baby a year kick, right? And so I just fall off the Destiny train. And then when I start looking at why and how I play Destiny, it's been PvP. And then we start counting up the days of 650 days since the last update of Destiny 2. Like, okay, let's let's just maybe not spend some money on this game and let's let them figure out that, and see if they want me to come back and play it. Stop having a child and it will make it easier to play. No deal.
No deal, dude. No
deal, man. I gotta build my raid team somehow. People keep like, I'll be there, Brian. Oh, something come up. You know what? When it comes to my kid raid team, like, you do your homework because we got raid tonight.
I used to play Destiny religiously. Destiny 1 especially. I clocked up some silly hours on that game. Just used to be on it every night. Anytime there was a content drought, 6 of us would just jump onto PvP and just play every night for like 2-3 hours. Yeah. It was great. It was great fun. When I got to Destiny 2, it started to become like a chore. And I think what people are saying kind of has an effect to it. If you love the game, sure, you're going to complete that battle pass in no time.
Yeah, but it's not even hard. I've done them.
Need to do bounties is, I feel like I have to do it rather than I want to do it. And I think that's eventually what got me cold from Destiny. The whole need to constantly be within the world to stay relevant, to stay up to date, to make sure, because if I miss a day or miss a week, then I'm going to fall behind on the battle pass. Again, similar to what you were saying with the whole Halo thing where it's there indefinitely. But that whole FOMO aspect really hurt the experience for me. And ultimately, it's why I no longer play.
And so, and Mysterio kind of follows up. Life can come up, so it's not necessarily about kids. But one thing I communicate and want to make sure that I'm very clear on is that my family takes priority in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, this phone rings, says, "Hey, come here, do this," etc. Like that. Sorry, got to go. Like, they are my world, and that's where my priorities lie. I love video games, but they are my world. That's where my priorities lie. And so, ultimately, yeah, that's where it is, but it doesn't have to be just about kids, like Mysterio saying. Like, life comes up, you could have an injury, something with your family, and etc. And there's so many things that can kind of get in your way of that. I don't need that pressure coming from a video game.
Mm-hmm.
That's
why I quit raiding.
And it's like, and it's not that content can't be good, and it's not that there are times in life where that content makes sense, but just, you know what? At the end of the day, like, there's so many other things that it's like I can be doing, and it's simple. Would I rather be playing Destiny or Super Mario 3D World with the kids? Mario wins hands down,
of course.
and there's no FOMO. And when I start seeing that identified in my kids' games, that's just kind of where, like, okay, we might just uninstall that off the phone, and stick to more Pokemon style, Nintendo Switch stuff. So that's gonna how it is for me. But that's what I want to see with New World. That's what I want to see. I would like to see, because they've talked about the theory of Battle Pass in New World. And if they do that, I'm perfectly fine with it. Just don't have an expiration date. I think between, like, let's say they do a yearly expansion model. Okay, yearly expansion, that's great. You're going to spend your yearly sub fee all at once. But then, if you want to have little battle passes throughout or whatever, just don't let them expire. That way they can kind of, like, you can just kind of collect them and do them as these bigger type quests. Well, maybe. I mean, if Halo changes the narrative, if it's a success, the market will dictate that is the model.
People want to make money.
Well, and if that's where it comes down to it, if Halo's model is successful and it makes money, perhaps we could see the evolution of the Battle Pass to its final form. But you were going to say something, Chaos. Please go ahead.
I was going to say that it's not so much the FOMO aspect that I think hurts these games. It's not the FOMO aspect of the Battle Pass. It's live service games in general. It's the need. They become a job. And ever since I've stopped really investing a lot of time into live service games, like Outriders, like Destiny, all of them, my life in gaming has become so much better.
Interesting.
I'm experiencing games now that I never would have played, like Space Punks. I wouldn't have played that in a million years. Ascent, easily a 7.5, 8 out of 10 game. I would never have experienced that in a million years, because I'd be sitting there doing my weeklies and my dailies in Destiny, then switching over to another live service game and doing the same thing over there. And it, at some point, Battle Pass or no, live service games are the problem because they have this system where it locks you into the game. So whether you want it or not, if you want to experience everything that season has to offer, you have to be there every day to play it. And that battle pass just adds to it.
How does Final Fantasy 14 fit into that mindset that you're talking about?
See, with 14, I can take a break anytime I want. And I can come back, and those dungeons aren't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Those, that content isn't going anywhere. If I want to buy something from the shop, it's always going to be there. There's no battle pass. Like I took at one point, due to problems at home, I was actually in Alexander Raid in Heavensward, I think, and got a knock on the door. It was really bad news, and I had to turn around to my raid team and tell them there and then, I'm sorry, I'm out for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
There and then, something came up. I can't deal with this. I'm not going to be online for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I came back 6 months later, and everything sorted itself out. And I was a little bit behind. But then my friends, within a week, through just dungeon crawling and stuff, we were back up to scratch, and I didn't feel like I missed out on anything. Then, forward a few years down the line, where we came to Shadowbringers,
mm-hmm.
we went back and duoed and trioed that content that I missed out on and got my clears. I never have this fear of missing out. If I want to take a break from 14, I can do that with the full knowledge that when I come back, that story, that content, that game is still going to be there. It's not going to be just shoved into some Destiny vault and I'll never see it.
Yeah. So, and thank you, Games to Stay Sane, for that 100 bits over on Twitch. I really appreciate the support. Also, just as a quick shout out, thanks for all the likes on the streams, guys. I really appreciate that. That really helps share out the streams and more. So we love you on that regards. That's kind of where it's like with Destiny. I really only got into their PvP when they said they were taking it away, because I just like Destiny 2 and Final Fantasy 14 were always kind of like my games. It was Destiny and then Destiny 2, but Destiny was my PvP and Final Fantasy 14 was my PvE. And I'd love to see, I really hope that Endwalker really helps Final Fantasy 14 step it up in terms of PvP. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about New World. It's all coming full circle, where in my mind, New World could theoretically replace my Destiny experience. I literally was just running around in PvP mode all the time in New World. It was scary. It was fun. It was, I was logging and somebody could just probably run up and try to kill me, but it didn't happen. It might happen in, the future. But for me, I was like, yeah, this is great. I enjoy PvP, but I don't want anybody to feel like they have to do that, PvP with me. If that's the case, I would easily just unflag and do PvE with the community in that regard. Just
let me know where you are on the map.
Well, it only depends on what faction you are.
Don't worry, I'll just sneak up behind you.
What faction? What's your faction?
I didn't actually pick one.
Okay,
I was just running around.
Okay. Well, if you're Syndicate, then I'd never have to fear for you. But if you're any of the other two, then it's like, yeah, man, to war. To where we will go. Do you think New World is going to have benefits for Prime subscribers? What do you think,
Chaos? Well, we've already seen some Twitch into Prime integrations on there, where anyone that's subscribed to you through Twitch can actually jump into your guild straight away. You can actually invite your whole sub count into your guild, so that's instant.
It's instant, right, but the guilds are only capped at 100 right now, so that just feels like it's for some of the big guys. That's gonna fill up.
Oh yeah, it's not really designed for those people. It's more designed for the mid core, I think. But I also think there's going to be benefits that they're going to right now. Prime is giving away free stuff for all sorts of games like Warframe and stuff like that. I can guarantee that New World is going to be among those getting monthly benefits for the players just for being Twitch Prime members. It makes sense. There's absolutely no reason for them not to do this. This is in their wheelhouse. And adding integration into Twitch is a no-brainer. In my opinion, the more integration they do, the better it's going to be for them, especially in pushing this game's agenda and trying to make it, come to the forefront.
100%.
Right, Twitch is their platform, and everyone uses Twitch to stream. And if you, considering it's your platform, you can create unique stuff for that platform and from widgets to actually make it just easily accessible. They could actually just create a widget where it says, join my game. And you click on that widget, and as long as you say okay, it will send you a notification in game through the widget that says X, Y, and Z has requested to join your party.
Yeah.
From your chat. No other game does this.
Yeah.
That's instant streamer satisfaction.
Not necessarily no other game, but just to kind of bring a bit of knowledge.
I've not seen anything else do that.
It's not through Twitch. It's actually through YouTube and Stadia.
Oh yes, they do.
Yeah. So Stadia has that. It's called Crowd Play, and several games support it. And I think what you'll see here on the Twitch side, more games are going to start to support that mindset. And the idea that's proposed is probably a couple years away, maybe 7 or 10, is literally to sit down and say, "Oh, my favorite streamer's playing X. Click button. Now I'm in their game." Because you don't have, like with cloud, you don't have to have the technology or the hardware. It literally is. They want it to be that simple. And that's where the Microsoft plan was with xCloud and Mixer. I'm guessing that they're going to try to do something with that over on Facebook, where, it's like click button and now all of a sudden you're playing xCloud or what have you. But that's the goal of a lot of it. And this is going to be a first MMO that really has that integration. And it's going to be interesting to see how this has an impact on the MMO genre as a whole. I continue to say, I think the golden age of the MMO is ahead of us. A lot of people look at it like it's behind us. And I'm like, no, the technology, we've kind of been in this holding pattern, waiting for the technology to really take MMOs to the next level. And there's several on the horizon. I think New World is a good case study of this. And that one of the things, I enjoy it. I really hope it's successful, but it makes me wonder, okay, is an integration with Prime like a real selling factor? 14's integrated with Prime. They gave away the game for 14 if you had a Prime sub 2 years ago. They've done all these other things. We've seen other things, like chat saying, even that, Game Pass, it's the new game. Prime could be the new Game Pass. And I think that's something what you want to see Amazon do. That's why when Phil Spencer sits down to talk about his competitors, he doesn't view PlayStation in that category. It's Amazon and Google.
Yeah.
And whether you like what Amazon and Google have done thus far, it's going to be an interesting thing to see, because it sounds like, especially with New World, Amazon's, they're gearing up for a real big fight.
They're all in. They've put all their eggs into this basket. I know they're publishing Lost Ark, but they're not that's already out. They're just publishing that. But with New World, this is their baby. They want this to be right. Question is though, was the delay because of sloppy code or because of Asmon and Summit?
Okay, good question. Did Asmon and Summit, with their feedback, delay New World? I think they did. Did they directly get on the phone and say, "Listen, you got to delay this game"? Amazon needs a win. They need a win. They want to have the best foot forward. Even if people, I've seen critique, this game's garbage. It's fine if you think this game's garbage. I hate to break it to you, it's not. It has a mountainous amount of potential, and a couple categories. There are going to be people who have been playing a game like Final Fantasy 14 with proven energy. That's the term I use. I think New World has a ton of potential energy. Final Fantasy 14 has proven energy. I know that they're going to just crush, and they're going to continue to crush. They've been crushing it, and now people are noticing that they're crushing it. It's only going to go up from here, in my opinion. New World's got that potential energy. I think that with them, they're listening, and that shows a huge amount of respect. It shows a huge amount of discipline, and it shows how invested they are in the success of this game. How many times have we ranted and raged and been frustrated and asked the question, why hasn't these developers delayed the game? Why couldn't they have just delayed it for another X amount of months? Microsoft did this with Halo. That cost them, and I believe it cost them in the short term. The question is that are you playing short-term baseball? Are you playing short-term wins? Short-term wins are why gamers get where trust is lost. Short-term wins are when you feel like people are going through your pocketbooks because they're just here to try to get as much profit out of you as they can because they know that this isn't going to be sustainable. They're not in it for the long haul. Long haul play is what I see them playing right now. What do you think?
But a delay is only, 2 weeks? 2.5, 3 weeks? Is it not? From August to September?
Yeah, it's just a month.
Right.
One month today.
How much can they possibly do in that month? It just seems
quite a bit, because when we come back to the conversation asking about like there's content that's that's discovered as a part of the data mining, etc. It's not about making content for the release. It's about having a really good experience at launch. It's about having the bugs fixed. It's about making sure that when people play the game, it works.
I mean, isn't it working at the moment?
It is. But I think that there's definitely things that were identified in the beta. They treated this as a beta and not as a promotional event. The fact they delayed it, it tells me that they were actually looking at this as a beta, and things like taking all the quests from the town boards in all the towns, doing it once and then turning it in for fast XP leveling and more. Like, all of that being said is okay. Like, what they've done is that they're probably going to go get this corrected. They're going to get some of these exploits corrected so that when the game launches, they have a smoother experience. And I don't think New World needs more content than it has on day one, because it's not about day one. It's about the first update, and then it's about the next update, and then it's about the next update. Right?
I agree. I'm just not so sure how much they can do in about 2-3 weeks.
It's not 2 or 3 weeks. It's 60 days.
60 days.
Yeah. Because originally it was set to come out at the end of this month. Basically, a month delay. September 28th, last month of September, last week of September.
Right.
So you can actually get a lot done, especially if with the telemetry data that you gather, that you find the things. I would say, like, when I'm looking at the issues, I estimated about 6 weeks, considering the time, the money, and the resources that Amazon has. So that gives you 6 weeks to button it up, 2 weeks before release, etc. That's not a time to be adding content. That's not a time to be adding, features.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's a time for polish, and polish is important. Yeah.
Maybe.
It's not a long time, as Chili says. It's still not a long time. No. But, I've seen people like, it needs to be delayed for another year. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like,
oh, no.
No. Like,
I mean, I think it could have came out, honestly, and it would have been fine. And, whatever was coming, any day one patch that needed to be hit, or if they just released a couple of patches over the course of the 2 weeks, no one would have complained. That's what I actually saw happening. The game was going to launch. You'd probably have a day one patch that's going to iron out some stuff, and then there's probably going to be at least a couple of patches that came after that with balancing stuff and tweaking certain things to, stop maybe exploits or anything else. But to extend it by that much, it feels like a knee-jerk reaction of some sort to Asmon and Summit. I hope it's not. I hope there is actually some problem. Well, I don't hope there's problems, but I hope that the delay is justified and it's not just a knee-jerk reaction that, oh my god, these two content creators have said bad things. Quickly, let's go back and make a list of everything they said and start seeing what's right and what's wrong and address each one. I don't want that, and because we all know influencers have, especially at the size of these two, they have big sway, big voices, big influencers.
Yeah,
they've got huge crowds. Just look at Asmon on 14; he has like 150,000 people watching him. It's crazy. So the size of his influence is huge. I just hope that it's not that sort of a reaction, and more. Yes, we actually need this time to actually get it done. And we're going to take this time because we actually need it, not because X, Y, and Z have said, oh my god, look at all these problems. Like, one of the complaints that I saw from Asmon was the fact that he can't become an instant god and everything in PvP, and everything is standardized in terms of your damage output, much like in 14 PvP. I hope they don't change that. It should be based on skill. As you level up your character, when you're going to PvP, you'll still have those skills you unlock for your weapon.
Yeah.
And that will be the determination between how good you are compared to someone else.
Yeah.
Keep it a level playing field. I really hope that come September, that isn't one of the things they changed, because if it is, a lot of people are going to be upset.
So Dalvin says just getting through the bugs and stability issues is going to take 2 months. And I've heard the duping bugs and the other majorly serious stuff. And so that's one of the things that I said in my video that I made about this specific topic, was focusing on if they need October, just announce it for October. Don't keep kicking the can down, the river, aka Cyberpunk, and then eventually be like, well, all right.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%.
But I have if they can fix like the dupe bug, if they can have the stability issues, like one of the things that you want, and one of the things that we haven't really seen in a launch of a new games as a service game, is a stable day one. I felt like the beta was very stable, but I did see that people were having stability issues, and I wasn't able to play all the time because according to Josh Strife Hayes, I'm in the average gaming crew. Like I maybe get 8 hours a week to play video games, and that feels awesome. That actually feels a little bit generous sometimes. some weeks, like when the beta came out and I was able to take 2 days and dive into New World, and I've put in, when I looked at Steam, like over like 100 hours of the game so far, which I was like, oh, that's great to know. That's really good to know over the course of a year. And that's the preview, which I just consumed like crazy because I wasn't busy last year. And then that was the beta, and I was very busy, so I didn't have too much time. And I was like, also, it's a beta. Like, I don't want to grind it up just to have a reset, to grind it up, in a month. And now I'm like 2 months. Geez, like, let's go. But yeah, like some of the things are going to take a little bit more time. But the question is what are you focusing on? I think polish, stability, obviously duplication bugs, exploits are real key critical paths. Things that people like, some of the people that they want these massive overhaul changes to systems, honestly scare me more than anything else. Some of the things that I see people advocating for is like, that's what ruined WoW for you. You know what I really hate about WoW is they did this. You know what we should bring into New World? That same thing. Oh man, like, are you hearing yourself right now? Like,
no, I agree.
It has me nervous. It has me nervous in that regards. Now, Nightmare Demon saying the issue is that someone's made a good point, as if the game is boring to begin with, and the problem with the game is that you can't hook people in the first couple of hours. Just to play 100 hours and it gets good is a bad saying. Yeah, Josh Stripe Hayes put out a video talking about like 100 hours and it gets good. It's not just a bad saying. It's bad design. It's bad game design, because when you think of the average gamer, like 100 hours is a long time to put into a game. That's months. When what you were playing, can you say the name of that game again that you're just in love with right now?
Ascent.
And diving in, and all of a sudden it hooks you right away, and you're having that really good.
Oh yeah, that blew me away straight away. That was a really good experience. But yeah, I totally agree. 100 hours is ridiculous. No, I under no circumstances would wait for a game 100 hours to be. I wouldn't even give it 20 hours to get good.
Yeah,
I want something to be interesting within. I mean, if it's an RPG, MMO, I'd give it maybe 2-3 hours to do something that's interesting. That's gonna say, right, okay, now I'm interested. When I went out to Bastok for the first time and killed my first worm, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Joking.
No, it was still like, wow, this is great. And then the world's so huge, and you see other players running around, and then you're like, hi.
Oh yeah, I still remember the first time when you healed, you had to kneel down and you kind of prayed. I remember walking out to some person.
Tebow before there was a Tebow.
Yep. I was like, why are you praying? And they go, oh, we're healing. I was like, wait, you have to pray to heal? But, as long as the world is interesting and the story starts off well, within the first 2-3 hours, I think that's acceptable. Maximum 4 or 5 hours if you're invested in the genre of the game. But anything more than that, you've lost my time. You've lost me, because there's so many other games I could go out and play.
The Yamarin says, I disagree with many things that Asmund said. He's not always right. I don't think any human. I think that applies to any of us.
Except
right?
me.
except for Chaos, who's always correct. He's going to provide me with the winning lottery numbers after we get off this call. So I'm really happy that he's my friend. I think essentially what's important to kind of always know is that all of us coming from different like experiences in life. We have different opinions. We have things that we like, things that we don't. And it's perfectly fine. Disagreement, I think, is perfectly fine. I think that leads to discussion. What I don't like in some of the treatment that Asmon's received from some of the 14 community, and I did a rant video on this today. So you're listening to this, chances are the video is already up. But anyway, just note, at the core of it, yeah, he gets to share his opinion. I think when you're taking in feedback, it's always good to have a context where something's coming from. As a full-time streamer, here's what is important. Here's what is valuable. As a normal, everyday family person gamer, here's what's important. Here's what has value. And I think that when a company is listening to that feedback, having the right context as to where people are coming from is ultimately very important. Now, I'd like to introduce, guys, Chili. What's going on, man? Thanks so much
What up, Chili?
Jumping
Hello,
in.
how are you doing?
Doing good, dude. How are you doing? What do you think about everything we're talking about right today?
I want to bring up the whole video by Josh. I think his name is...
Yeah, Josh Tryface. Go ahead.
It's a very good video, by the way. I do recommend everyone go watch it. I'll go watch. I think you've done a reaction video too, haven't you?
Yeah, that actually went up today. Like y'all, my people say I'm really good at reaction content. My general philosophy is if you guys send me something to watch and you want me to watch it, I'll consider it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I agree with him for most of the points, except for when he talks about the hours. Now, for me, for most games, I agree. If your game is lasting 100 hours, it's poorly done. You should be forced to play. Look, you've showed Warframe, which I think now is a lot better than it used to be. But when it first came out, it really was a grind fest. There was no story. There was no anything.
Yeah.
But with Final Fantasy 4, I feel like some games ignore that rule. And for me, that would be something like Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft, probably New World as well. Just because the game is not designed for you to be playing in a short time period. It's designed to be an evolving story over multiple different expansions over multiple years. So that, having a nice quick bit at the start of the game, to keep you hooked is good. But A Realm Reborn is basically the hook story point to help tell you the basis of your character for future expansions.
Mm-hmm. So the thing that I would add to that, though, is that the question is what's that starting point? Yeah. Because it's perfectly fine to say it gets better with each expansion. That's a true statement. Final Fantasy 14 gets better. But it's also, I think, really good at the start.
Oh, it is.
I really loved A Realm Reborn. I'm like from a high level, I get a lot of feedback, so I'm very well aware of the struggles that some people have with A Realm Reborn. But Yoshi P, in my mind, is already solved for that problem. New Game Plus. Oh, yeah. Right? So there's going to be people, everybody's got different flavors, but I think Final Fantasy 14 has a really good hook. Really, like by level 5, you're already meeting some interesting Ascians already right at the start. Like even before you create your character and it's like, boom, here's this awesome looking gear that you can get and will get. And then you're fighting off an Ascian. And you're like,
just saying that, really, the story is pretty slow. There's a lot of slow quests in that story. Yeah, there's a bit where you get hooked on, as I've said, but I feel like it still falls under the rule where it's going to take 20, 30. I don't think it'll take 100 hours. It doesn't take 100 hours in Fantasy 14 to get good.
No.
But I would say the best stories might take 20 to 30 hours. I feel like once you've got into the Ifrit range of story, that's when it starts to pick up, in my opinion.
Right. The question, though, that he asks specifically in his video is that could it have been done shorter? And the answer is no, not in Final Fantasy 14's case. No. It could now, but at the time, like they're trying to save a company. They're trying to save a franchise. And I think they did. Yeah. It's like we could sit here with 2020 vision and be like, you know what? That didn't work out. But the devs have already done that as well.
Yeah, that's why they went back and shortened some of the side quests. They shortened the fluff between 2.1 and 2.5, which, as much as people hated it, I feel like it was pretty well done considering the fact it was technically their first expansion, like LOL, because we never really had that with 11. We never really had a patch cycle. It just, story's finished, new expansion.
Yep.
This was their first step in of trying to make content between expansions.
Yeah.
And you could see that they were struggling with it. Now they've got their stride to know what to do. They know that 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 story, 3.4 start setting up for the expansion, 3.5 lead up to the expansion, 4.0 expansion, so forth.
So Agia says, I don't think New World is going to make much of a dent in 14 and in WoW. What do you think, Chili? And then I want to go to Chaos.
I think it might have different audiences, but I feel like it. Okay, I will say it won't make a dent, but it will at launch because it's a new product. It has that new smell. It has that new car smell, so people are going to rush to it to try it.
Yeah.
In 6 months, I feel like not even 6 months. I feel like 2 months. It might drop down again because of Endwalker. Because again, new product, new car smell.
Not because it might take out the mind. I think it's absolutely going to see a dip with Endwalker. But go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Then will it go back up? Probably. It really depends on how much Amazon supports it, because we've not really seen Amazon support product yet. So. In fact, Amazon's had a pretty shaky past on supporting products. Look at that first-person shooter arena thing that came out. Was it Hunt?
It was Crucible, and it was horrible.
Was it Crucible?
It was a horrible game. It was a bad game.
It was.
I mean, the game idea was good. The execution was bad.
Yeah, I always kind of said, I don't know if I'm hitting anybody. I went from Crucible because I played it. I was like, well, maybe there'll be something here. I'll break it down. I like making guides. So I put the time in, played all the characters, broke it down. And then I went after that and played Gears of War 5. And I was like, you can immediately feel how Gears of War gets the shooting so right and how Crucible misses so much. And I was like, oh, wow, that there is a big difference. They've got a lot of work to do in order to make this one work. And they didn't have it in them. They tried. And, I think at some point you learn to cut your losses. I think with New World I think they have a game. I think they have a game that the question is, you're right. Will they support it? And the only thing that will tell us that is time. What do you think? Do you think New World's going to make any kind of dent in 14 and in World of Warcraft, Chaos?
Well, WoW's in all sorts of trouble at the moment. They're bleeding players left, right, and center. So we'll see how that goes over time. But in 14, I don't really think so. At the moment, 14 is in a content drought. So, there's nothing else coming now between now really until the expansion release. I know we've got the rehash of the 15 event and you've got the summer fair coming. You're probably going to get the Halloween event, but those are literally jump in and jump out type of things. They take a few hours at best to complete. So for the people that have already been there, there's not much there. So releasing the game around September time is probably going to work in New World's favor, and they're going to see a rise in people playing it. But I wouldn't say that's because people are stopping to play other games. It's because in the case of 14, if you've been playing it as we have been, there's no content for you to really do outside of maybe leveling your characters, and that's not really content. That's something you jump on, do a couple of dungeons, do your roulettes, and you're done. So it's the perfect time to try something new. But come Endwalker, I think it's going to be a complete U-turn. There will still be those people that play it because there are those that just don't want a subscription model.
Yeah,
Tesso is doing pretty well now since it's on Game Pass, and that's if you've got Game Pass, that's free. You don't even have to buy the game. You could just play it, through Game Pass and on the Xbox and PC, and it's going to be competing with these lot. I don't think it's really going to be competing with the pay to play model. It'll be competing with those around it.
Yeah. I think it's going to have a bigger impact on WoW than on 14, because for those who play Final Fantasy 14 for that narrative story, there's no way New World is going to be able to touch all of this build up, all of this hype. It's like, hey, I'm glad you're coming out with your movie. We're gonna go see this movie that we don't know the studio yet? Sounds interesting. People seem to enjoy it. Or are we gonna go watch Avengers Endgame? It's like, are we going to go do this one thing, or are we going to go experience this event? This this pinnacle of what Final Fantasy 14 is building up for. So I think for those, there's plenty of players out there who are really hungry for a new game, a new MMO. We really haven't seen one of this caliber of MMO. Like, that's the thing that hooks me. I keep saying it. When you go and you cut down a tree and the tree falls, and then the tree doesn't immediately respawn back so somebody else can cut it down, like, that feels awesome. People complaining about, like, somebody stole my skin. It's like, I don't know, like, the fact that the world feels alive and we're all in it is something that, like, I think is telling. It's one of the different makers that we've seen as MMOs have more shifted to these instant simulators. And
it has a lot of reason for the plants to grow back as well, doesn't it? If I'm rightly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The world is like the fountain of youth. It's your eternal thing, and then there's the corruption side, and there's this war, whether it's good or evil or whatnot. It seems interesting that way or the other. But to bring that my thought full circle here is that World of Warcraft, obviously, I think if they continue to delay, they're going to miss the window of opportunity for the WoW player who's angry, because you still need to get people hooked into your game. That's why I think it's imperative they have a smooth launch, an important launch. I think that's important for the game in its long run, because people will give it a shot, and if it's horrible and they can't play it, they're going to go tell their friends you can't play it. And most people are kind of fair weather, like, you don't, not everybody's like a hardcore, like, I'm going to log into this game every day. I'm moving my community to this game. But there's a lot of things that New World offers that the other two games don't. And I think if nothing else, it's going to pick up the players who play WoW or played WoW who aren't interested in playing 14 for whatever reason. Asmon's had a huge impact on breaking down that wall, and people are really experiencing 14 and enjoying it because there's whatever the stigma is gone. But just like Chili said, Endwalker comes out, there's going to be a dip. That's why it's really important, back to the start of this podcast, I think it's really important that they don't worry about rushing out content to meet the September 28th deadline. I think it's more important to have a big content update sometime in December to invite people back once they finish the Endwalker story. That's, I think, the key critical path, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, the big issue with that, well, if you talk, are you talking about WoW or New World?
New World. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not a WoW fan. I don't want to sit here and try to pretend to be. I've tried to cover the news with that level of discretion, that it's not like view hunting and this is bad, this is a juicy topic. Like, I've literally, like, said I'm not making. I think you go look at that week and it's like I made one video and I'm like, I'm not going to talk about this. We're going to talk about something else all week.
A little bit about it because of everything that's going on right now.
Well, everybody keeps asking. Everybody keeps asking, and so it's like I want to, like, that way I can point to the one rather than like, did you see what this crazy person tweeted? And like, I don't like to sensationalize it.
Way too many videos on it. There's people are just flooding their inbox, and I much prefer your idea of having one big concept video than 10 billion videos. So as a viewer, thank you.
You're welcome. I make a lot of content, so I'm very well aware of people's time in that regards. But at the same time, it's insincere for me to sit here and feign disappointment in Blizzard. I can't unsubscribe more than once. It's like I'm not. I don't have the authority of Asmon and Bellular and those who have a business level impact.
Yeah.
But
anyway, when it comes to New World, I'm waiting and seeing what happens. I've enjoyed watching people do the beta. I didn't get into the beta. I didn't pre-order, so I've been enjoying watching people play the beta. I don't think I'm going to pick it up at launch just because I'm busy with other games right now.
Mm-hmm.
But next year, once I'm done with Endwalker and there's a bit of a lull again, maybe January, February time, I'll pick up New World, maybe.
Yeah,
probably. But yeah, I will love to see how it goes and how it improves, because it does have from what I've seen, it does have a great base. We're just going to have to see how it expands, especially with the fighting system. Like, I've watched Asmongold fight that boss, and I'm sure most people won't ever get to those endgame bosses, but they really seem kind of not good.
What do you think, Chaos?
I think overall, New World will have a place in the market, but it really is going to determine how much of, as Chili said, support it's going to get determines how it's going to stay. I don't think it'll do anything to 14. 14 at the moment is in a crazy bubble where everyone just wants a piece of that pie. And in terms of WoW, I think, as you said, now's the perfect time to start taking those players who are stopping to play, don't want to go to 14, and are looking for something different, unique, and immersive to play. There's tons out there. You got Black Desert Online, ESO.
Yeah.
And maybe those don't appeal to them and they're looking for something different. The longer the delay happens, which is why I was really surprised that they actually did delay it. But the longer this delay happens, the worse it is for New World, in my opinion. They need to get the game out there and they need to get people playing. Because if they delay it too long, I mean, like one of my friends was interested in New World, but it was coming out at the end of August. And that already was a question mark for him because he's a teacher, school starts, he's going to have less time to play.
Yep.
And just around the corner is Endwalker, and he's, that's his main game.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have the time to dedicate to it. Now it's coming out in September. Absolutely no chance for him to even look at the game. So it's a really tough one for Amazon at the moment. I think they've got every chance to succeed, but they need to aim for the market that they think will win it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a growing market.
With 14.
Right. I don't think that's the market. Go ahead.
If it gets delayed again, they will have to delay till next year.
Yeah.
They can't do another. Say it's end of September, right?
Yeah.
So if it gets delayed a month, that's October.
Yeah.
That's the territory where people are going to be coming back to Final Fantasy 14 to finish
Call of
the
Duty.
content and Call of Duty and
Halo
Battlefield and Halo
Battlefield.
and all that lot.
Yeah.
But I'm just mainly talking about the MMO market here. But this will be when people will be jumping back to Final Fantasy 14 because they've taken a break from the last patch because they knew that there was going to be this is a 6-7 month gap between 5.55 story and Endwalker.
Yep.
So they could have easily been like, okay, I don't want to finish the story now. I've got 6 months. I'll come back in October, which I can understand people doing, and be like, okay, I'll finish the story here, get a few things done. I'll be done by November. I'll be ready for early access, which is a stupid word because everyone that plays Final Fantasy 14 is going to pre-order Endwalker. It's not early access. It's just these are the days where the servers are going to crash access.
I don't think that's going to happen. They had a smooth launch with Shadowbringers.
I think it'll be fine. They learned their mistake from Railbar.
Right. I hope not. Yeah.
They learned their mistake from Railbar Savage.
So who knows? You got the typical end, but anyway, you got early access, which everyone's gonna get because everyone's gonna pre-order Endwalker.
Yeah,
is what I meant.
I mean, who hasn't?
Yeah. So
yeah, come here. The I don't know. I want them. You're right. I think that if you don't make September, January is a great time. January is a great month. Because at some point, but at the same time, there's an argument to be had that having a quiet launch ends up being a benefit because essentially, the argument I keep making with New World is that it's not even about launch, and I talk about the updates, but it's really about also that first expansion, because at that point it becomes. You can play this game. There's an expansion on the horizon. This game has a future, and it's not something we sit here and tell you on paper. Anthem. Ugh. It's not something we sit here and tell you. It's literally like, here's the updates that you can play. Here's the dialogue we're having with the community. Here, you can go touch it for yourself. You don't need to rely on the question that can't be answered with words. It can only be answered with action. And I think that's where the first expansion. So even if they come out in September and it's, it's a little bit low population, it's a little bit on the quiet end. 14's taken the crown, which it has. I don't know anybody who thinks WoW is still the number one MMO. It could be again, but I see that it's going to be harder every day that passes until Blizzard gets its act together. But
WoW's not going to see any changes major until next expansion. Is probably what's going to happen.
I don't think it. I think unless they delay the next expansion, then yes, I still think that some of the core ingrained problems are going to be there. But there'll be like a curveball, right? Like when Yoshi P came over, he still had to support 1.0, and it said, okay, here's what we're doing. And with the expansion, they were trying to get it out in early 2022 for some unknown reason. I guess they were trying to have 9.2 out this fall, but maybe that's not going to happen now. So there could be that time, right? They could say, you know what? Guess what, guys? Sorry, 2023, new expansion. Hey, we've empowered the team to do the cool stuff that you guys want. People, with the new leadership and them fixing the problems, like, WoW, still like a force in the room. Question is that, that's really up to them if they want to remain a force in the room, even with the upset. Go ahead, KS.
So I was going to say, if they were to delay the game another time, and you're saying they'd have to delay it to say January.
I think
January wouldn't really work because end of December, Lost Ark comes out, right?
October is when Lost Ark comes out.
It's October?
Yeah.
But it'll be kind of in its full swing by... okay.
I think that
you don't want them to be competing with their own product.
Well, I think they're two different markets. I mean, there are obviously some similarities. And honestly, I think it gives them a lot of leeway, right? Okay, maybe didn't really like New World. Again, we talk about Prime, we talk about all these different like integrations. You could literally see them having two really big games going into the holiday and then literally coming out next year, like as these integrations keep up and keep going. I don't know. Like I've played Lost Ark. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited about it, but I'm not worried about trying to cover it for the channel. It's like I'm just like, all right, if I don't know if I'm going to play it in October because of what Chili said, 14 Endwalker coming out in November. Like that's where I'm going to be.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not going to try to establish myself as some guy who doesn't have enough time to play these kind of games. It's like, like Endwalker, I'll get the jobs leveled. I'm really excited about the story. Can't wait to see where the game goes from here. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, once I get everything leveled, like Yoshi P says, take a break. I'm like, okay, do I dive in full hog into New World? Do I decide to pick up, and play Lost Ark? I don't know. I'm not honestly, my radar right now is just bouncing between Final Fantasy 14 and New World. You guys have any final thoughts?
I mean,
yeah, you're good.
For me, 14 will always be the MMO of choice for me. I generally don't have time to play multiple MMOs. One is plentiful. And my problem with jumping into another MMO generally is that I don't have enough time to dedicate towards it, and I don't like half-assing them either.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my general problem with other MMOs, because when you play an MMO, you want to, dive into it. You want to experience it in its entirety, and that requires time. It's in the nature. Though 14 does make that a lot easier with the way it's designed, with its single player ethos, with the story campaign and everything. It's only the dungeons and the primal fights that really require you to multiplayer, and it's not like Final Fantasy 11 where you have to stand in Juno for 4 hours shouting for a party, or like. What was it? Divine Might? I think we were like shouting for 6-7 hours before we finally got a group that had all the orbs to go and fight it. You don't have that problem. Yeah. So it's a lot more quicker with it's just, I don't know. I think trying to juggle more than one MMO for me is a huge task. And I just, as much as I like New World, it won't replace 14 for me.
Jilly, final thought to you, sir.
For me, I'm gonna wait until see what my friends do. I like the look of it. I've watched a lot of people play New World. I watched a bit of Asmongold on his Zach Raw channel. I've watched some of your footage on YouTube. It looks okay. It looks like something I could get enjoyment of, though I'm not a big fan of the compass system because I suck at those. If my friends start playing it, I'll give it a shot. It's not a sub-based game, so I can easily just buy it at some point because they'll have discounts. Sometime in the future they might have a discount. I'll buy it discounted, or I'll just buy it full price, depending on how many people jump over and try it. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, it's fine. But I feel like Final Fantasy 14 is still going to be my main MMO. But just like WoW, I gave it a shot last year with Shadowlands for the first time. I beat the raid. I feel like that's an accomplishment. and I wasn't having that much fun with the game. Friends were quitting at the time already, so I just went, okay, fine then, unsubbed, and went
Yeah.
back to 14.
Exactly. All right. We're going to conclude the show, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you can find the podcast in an MP3 format. Just search Epic Loot Radio wherever podcasts are found. I'm still waiting on the Pandora approval. That's
It took
6 weeks.
I think it took us about 2 months.
Yeah, like the Pandora one is a long wait. So you guys be sure to go and follow the MP3 version of this. Thanks again to Luke, and thanks again to all the support you guys give that make these podcasts possible. If you've been listening with us live, thanks for tuning in live. And we typically do these on Fridays around the lunch hour. If you guys want to come hang out live, get your thoughts on the show. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the archive and in the published audio and video formats of the podcast. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up, guys, for Epic Loot Radio. What an epic episode 30. Talking about New World, Final Fantasy, MMORPGs. Thank you for being here. You are awesome. And we will see you in our next show. But until then, take care. All right. Great show. I have one question I want to, like, if you guys have Q&A, we can hang out for a little bit for Q&A.
Yeah. I do need to cook dinner soon because I'll be streaming tonight.
You EU folks. I mean, we're going to actually be playing 14 tonight doing a mount farm. So if you guys haven't seen that, I've already posted that up. We'll be on YouTube for that. It starts around 9 Central. So you're 3 a.m., like 5 hours out of me.
I will be there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We're going to be farming up mounts with the community, hanging out in Discord. Whether you're on Aether or not, it's all welcome. It's just going to be a fun time to hang out and have a good time. Halcyon says, I just started watching your channel, and you said in a recent video that you were once a Destiny player. Which Destiny raid feels like the most like a traditional MMO raid? And for me, this is a bias to it. I like it's almost a rating, Crota, and then essentially Vault of Glass. After those raids, I don't really remember doing many of the raids. I enjoyed some of the Destiny 2 raids, like Last Wish. Leviathan I didn't like. Like, honestly, like it was interesting in terms of the bosses.
It was cheap.
But I just it was so recycled. And
I did Crota and I did Temple Vault of Glass, but I didn't really touch any of them in Destiny 2 except for the first one.
The Leviathan was the first one, yeah.
Yeah, Leviathan.
Last Wish I thought was really well done. Last Wish I really enjoyed. That was actually done by Vicarious Visions, which was really cool. Yeah. I would like to be a Destiny player again. I know crossplay coming with season 15 is on the horizon, and that might be something enough to draw me back in as a regular player.
Beta, didn't they, recently?
Yeah, they kind of tested it out a little bit. And so I'm excited that they're doing that. I think that's ultimately going to be a real good step. And that's actually one of the things that's going to raise the bar up for other games. So if you're going to sit here and try to launch a games as a service game in that kind of ecosystem and you don't have cross save and cross play, you're going to really struggle because people might come check out your game, but they're just going to go back to wherever their friends are. And if their friends, if their friends don't matter what platform they're on, I think that's going to be kind of a key difference. I decided not to cover.
I like the fact that Back 4 Blood already has crossplay, which is pretty cool. And that's also in beta right now. And I think it's free on Game Pass when it launches. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. Vault Glass and Crota's End is probably the closest thing I could think of, especially the drawbridge section, which requires which has a lot of mechanics.
I think I normally cheese that.
I know a lot of people did, but if you actually do it properly, legit, it is it's hard, but it is so rewarding.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool because you've got to have 2 people on the plates at all time on the right while the bridge is forming. Once it's formed, you have to have one person go across. Then they have to kill the knight on the other side. Then you have to form the bridge again once that knight is killed, and you can only kill that knight with the sword that spawns. Then you have to have another person go across, and then you kill the other knight on the other side. Then you have to stand on the pads on the other side and start taking everyone from the other side over to across the bridge one by one. It's crazy, and it gets more and more manic because in the end, you've
Well,
got
there was wizards, there was
person,
knights, there was wasn't there
ogres.
2 ogres that spawned at
Yep.
the end on the last
Yep.
phase? Yeah, I
And
remember.
while all this is going on, you're still getting people from one side to the other, getting them across the drawbridge. And yeah, that's the type of content I miss from Destiny. None of this one gimmick fiasco stuff that they started doing in Destiny 2, because everything in Destiny 2 is one gimmick.
Though Crota was pretty buggy at launch. And
yeah.
I mean, pretty buggy. Remember the fact that if the leader disconnected, at a certain point you could make... Normally Crow would go through invisibility and vulnerable phrases. So if the leader of your party disconnected while he was vulnerable at a certain point, he would skip all his phases and you could just blast him.
Oh yeah, but that's exploiting, right?
Yeah, that was exploiting.
I mean, that's not
But
a
it
bug.
was
That's
still-
more just exploiting.
Yeah, well, it was still a bug.
But you know, Crow had his fair share of things where he would run into the room and kill everyone when he wasn't supposed to do that. Probably one of the greatest things I've seen ever in Destiny, because that was beautiful. When you just kept on teasing him and he'd run down the side and then run back and run. And then one time he just got really pissed off and broke the game and came into the room behind and killed us all. It was magical. But
it was not Destiny, but I still remember, you know, Labyrinth of the Ancients in Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah.
I've got this video somewhere. You know the boss that gets tethered?
Yeah.
You know, you got hit him certain times.
Yeah.
I was playing Warrior. We just killed the second boss. I was not even on the stairs. By the way, we never got to this boss before. This was our first time getting there. We hadn't wiped, we hadn't done anything. I was near the stairs, at the bottom of the stairs. Someone in the Alliance pulled. It decided I like chili, ran down the stairs, killed me.
I think
and then went
everybody
back
likes
up
chili.
again.
Let's just be real.
Do you
Went down, attacked me, and then went back up again.
Yeah.
do you I'm assuming you've all done Twintania.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So my friend Kanata, Black Mage, Lalafell.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Warrior goes in, uses his hate combo, and Twintania goes, nope. Runs after the Lalafell, kills the Lalafell, then goes to the Warrior.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay,
Oh,
that was weird. So anyway,
well, talking about Twintania, this was back on the PS3 days and with my latency as well. I was playing Monk. Now we wiped on Twintania because it was a standard thing for wiping back then because it was quite tough. My dot procced after we wiped, so Twintania left the circle when everyone else was dead. We'd all gone back, flew up to the starting point, killed me, and then despawned. Because on the server, it had the dot happen after we died. Also, I'm a Lalafell, so I'm starting to feel there's some bias here.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
It gets better. So we went in again. We had both tanks go in with their hate combo.
Yeah.
It still ignored the tanks, went for the Lalafell. So the third time we went in, we left the Lalafell
This isn't
all
a
the way
pattern.
at
This
the
is
top.
the way it is.
We left the Lalafell all the way at the back.
Yeah.
We left him all the way up there. I just said, stay up there and let us go in and see if he comes after you.
Nice.
So all 7 of us went in. And 220, he just said, you know what? Screw you guys. He just ignored us completely. Flew straight for the Lalafell. Then came back. It was the best thing ever. We have no idea to this day why that was happening, but it was just one of those moments where you had to be there.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the post show. Thanks, guys, everybody, for hanging out for the whole show. Julie called and she needs my assistance, so we're gonna wrap up this hangout. RM with their final thoughts says, found you from recent exodus to 214 from WoW. Thank you so much for being welcoming to people like me and find a place in this universe. Hit me up if you ever need a white mage. RM, if you're on Aether, man, let's play some games. I'm so glad that you guys feel welcome. Everybody's always welcome to come play Final Fantasy 14. And I love the game and I love the community, and hopefully you people could find a home here, a home base, even if they do decide to take breaks in the future. So thanks everybody for being here. We're going to end broadcast. Love you faces. We will see you next time.